saying something stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not me. I'll have to start it and it doesn't work or something.
I'm just gonna not get any fries. The fries over here. I like them.
You want to play that? Yeah, my wonderful wife sent me a text that said, I got a new grill. I bought it like an expensive one. And she's like, your new grill looks nice.
We stopped. We stopped in Fargo.
We got home at 8:42.
Yeah, pretty close to us. I think we stopped and done something.
It was under 5 hours.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they didn't.
We left. We didn't stop until Fargo. I think it was Fargo.
That's what we did too. Yeah.
Yeah, we just.
Well, I guess we stopped at Jimmy John's when we left the town in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
We are screening.
I was going 92 North Carolina.
Your grandparents, things like that. So we're hoping it'll pick up.
Like 10 bucks.
So we're moving around. And you know,
Now they match the state that you come from.
Yeah, 2 minute warning. I'll be starting for 2 minutes. Need to go to the bathroom quick, grab something else to drink, go for it.
I'm gonna go get a Gatorade. I'm gonna Should I grab another plane?
Yes. No. What?
If they get, I don't know, they were like, Taylor, grab another plate this second.
You want to go first? You're really going to eat tonight? 16 people at that tournament got it. How many people did they figure were there?
Like 3,000 or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, we kind of all stuck together. We were always together.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel fine.
And we placed 28th in the state. We placed 28th.
Yeah, we got last place in the
Didn't
7th.
win any.
Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, I don't know if they won any in the last round, if they won or not. Yeah, we would have got, I guess, last place in the 7th place pool. You guys wrestled good, though.
Give it a little more. Testing, perfect. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank everyone for making it. The banquet, which we didn't get to have last year, we're thankful we get to have it. So much like the season, we didn't know what we could or couldn't do, and the ability to have a banquet, we're thankful for that, feel blessed to get to have one. I'm going to start with the thank yous, and a lot of them this year, parents, moms and dads, a lot of work goes into every sport, but wrestling, probably more than any, parents are at the heart of a lot of our best wrestlers. We put a lot of time in all the way through these young men's careers. And a lot of how good and how wonderful the season we had this year is thanks to the parents, all the way through the years. And we have the best parents around. I'm very blessed as a coach. I wouldn't say that every year, but this year we had a great set of parents. I've had my ups and downs through the years, and I love our parents. Okay, they're awesome group. Coaches, we had 11 coaches this year. Okay, and I am super thankful as head coach to have the staff that we had. I feel like I was the CEO, running from facility to facility, and things just ran really smooth. And we found a system that worked really well. And I think most people that watched us this season, from beginning to the end of the year, saw our kids improve in every one of our 3 facilities. And then just coaches and their families. You know, a coach's wife is a tough life, and they put up a lot during the wrestling season. We put a lot into the season as coaches. So I want to thank all of our wives. They put up a lot. All of our kids, other kids. You know, a wrestling family sometimes is really committed to wrestling, and we love that. But there's other people involved too, so I want to thank them for putting up with that. All right, we're going to dive into our top 10 highlights. I really had a hard time this year. I could have had 20 highlights this year. I'm going to go from 10 to 1. We'll work our way through them. Not a lot of individual matches on here, but number 10, Brandon Boone gets a pin at super section. Over Adams got a 4 to make the top 4, make the medal stand. That really was special for me. I know it was for Brandon too. He's a pretty big kid, wasn't he, Brandon? I think he might have been the biggest kid you wrestled this year. He was ranked in state off and on most of the year. He was their section champion, the number 1 seed. And Brandon pulled him over the top to pin him to keep his season alive. That was a big match. Early season, beating Detroit Lakes. Kale, Brady, and Mason had huge wins that night. Detroit Lakes was ranked 3rd in the state at the time. I don't know if our kids knew what we were capable of. At that point, I think we were like 3-3 on the year or something. We didn't know where we were at as a team. I think that opened a lot of our kids' eyes and people around the state that Deep River, they got a pretty good team to put on the map this year. Cody and Mason placing at state. We didn't have a medal stand. I do have super section medals tonight. I don't have state medals, which I'm not very happy about. But we are going to do medal stand pictures. We got some cardboard cutouts when they come. Okay? And Cody and Mason, when I looked at your goals this year, that was on there. You achieved your goals. You in a crazy year. So placing top 6 in state is an awesome accomplishment. Huge highlight. Beating Pequot Lakes time over back us the second time around. This was a match that they pummeled us the first time. It wasn't pretty. Whether you're watching from home or in the gym in Fergus, it wasn't pretty. Okay? So to beat them that next time around was kind of a culmination of all the, I think, improvement we had seen in the year. And really it starts with Noah Jacobson and Nick Spear. Noah Jacobson had a pretty fun match. And he won 15-11. He might have been down 11 at 2 at one point. Right? Then Nick Spear tossed the kid and pinned him, who he'd been pinned by before. That was huge. And then in the end of the lineup, Jolson coming around and Mason getting huge wins to cement that win. Noah Jacobson's pin to advance to the super sections, kid from BGF. He was behind by a little bit. I got in the single, switched to a double. I said, after this match, we coined a little nickname for Noah. We call him Noah Ness. If you know Dylan Ness that wrestled the Gophers, he used to elevate people all the time. Noah elevator, he looked back and got the pin. And I don't even know if Noah knew this would advance in the super sections because it was an odd setup this year. But it was a huge match. I was excited. It was fun. Number 5, beating UNC by 1 point. Mason, Jolson, and Colin closing it out at the end was awesome. To see our upper weights pull through. Mason pinned a kid who's tougher than nails to pin. Jolson went out and did what he always does and weird stuff, and the guy got his back and pinned him. And then Colin had it, at one point we're trying to get Colin to win, and also we realized, hey, if he just loses, we still win. So Colin rode the guy out. We didn't know he was tough on top till that night. Either way, we won. That was awesome. And a lot of people that watched that night, that was a home match, and that's something else. People got to watch at home, and then a lot of people watched on YouTube, and we're talking about how fun it was to watch this season. So even though it was a COVID year, more people probably watched our matches than normal. And people, maybe, I don't know, but Sean, some of the numbers were up in the 500s in views. So people were really watching. Claiming 3 super section titles. So Brady, Mason, and Cody, you are the first ever super section titles. Okay? Will we ever happen again? I don't know. We don't know. Okay. Griffin placing 5th in state in dominating fashion. Went through the backside and 8-0, 9-0, 17-0 total scores. Placing 5th. That's down. Didn't have a chance to wrestle back for 3rd. Even the champ. A tougher than heck match. It was 5-3 with 45 seconds to go. So great state tournament. Number 2, beating Pern in the section semis at Thief River. And I wrote down Jolson and Colin there we had a decision to make, and I'll leave it because Coach DeCamp talks about that in his remarks. But I didn't really think about it. A few other guys had thought about shifting around. We did it, and it worked. I won't lie, I was a little scared. I wasn't sure it worked. Right? Looking back, great decision. Smart decision. Got the win. That was awesome, especially in Thief River, and especially against a rival like Perth. And then obviously number one, Brady winning the state championship. Time's counting down, and we got it about 3 seconds left. I hit Coach Youngblum and said, "We have 3 seconds and we're going to state title." Because that match was so close the whole way through, you didn't think about winning a state title until the end. And I think Brady just the same thing, wrestled his match, and then it was pretty sad. They don't hand away state titles. I've said that for a long time. And it's been 12 years since we had one. And I think in that 12 years, there's 4, 5, 6 kids that their goals were to win one. We thought could have won one, and they didn't. And Brady got done. You know, his run through the state tournament, beat a 34-0 kid first round. And Brady was a 5 seed. Russ has a 1 seed next round. He's down 4-0. Tosses him, which he's done so much. He tossed the first kid too. Beat him 5-4, and then coasted in the finals because he had a lead early on right away. And he was losing the first 2 matches. But showed his offense and his defense in that finals match. You know, how all facets, and actually the semis had a write-up to it, right? And so he showed all different facets of wrestling and positions, what it takes to win a state title. So that was awesome. And as a team this year, something I don't know if everyone knows, but we got a section trophy event. They mailed them to us because apparently handing out trophies at events causes COVID, so they had to mail them to us. So we have our section trophy over there, and the 19 kids in the section roster, you all have a medal. I'd like you to collect those at the end of the night. Super proud of this team. We went from 2011 to 2019 without making a section finals. We've done 2 years in a row, which is pretty cool. We didn't have much for individual tournaments. We didn't have too many nights where we could take a match off, 2 matches off, like some of the other teams scheduled. I know we struggled getting double A teams. We wrestled 7 of the top 10 Class A teams, and then most dual points scored 1,504, breaks the record for 2009. So a great dual season. I am going to move on to the middle school pod, but before I do that, I want to introduce all the coaches. And they couldn't all be here, but I'm going to do this by pod, and so everyone knows who is where and things like that. So junior high coaches, just stand up when I call your name. Dale, Mark, and Jake. The middleweight group, Josh, Jake, Andrew, Kevin, and Brian. Then the upper weight group, Scott McCamp, Banquet, myself, Tyler, and then the college kids. And Tyler was our weight room guy. Impressive. The gains we made in the weight room this year. Love to have her back again. So, without further ado, I'm going to do something that I haven't done in 19 years of coaching. I'm going to let my other coaches talk about their pods this year. Okay? We had 3 pods. So the first pod, if I get those 3 coaches to come on up here, and then all the middle school wrestlers come on the stage. All middle school guys, come on up.
Okay, so this is the middle school group. What we usually do here is, especially if you're 6th grade and 6th grade parents, and we say a few words about each kid. Jake won't say anything about anybody, so don't. But before we start, I think all 3 of us, when we talk about these guys, we really worked these guys hard this year, and they all did really well because of it. I haven't coached middle school for many years, and Jake kind of brought more of a level of some of the stuff he learned at the high school and stuff. So it was really advanced stuff that we were showing these guys, and they really took to it. And I got a lot of compliments from people towards the end of the year that, wow, those junior high kids, they look tough, they got better, and they worked hard for it. So I'm going to start with the sixth grade, and then we'll work our way up to the eighth grade. So the first person I'm going to talk about, actually, I'm going to talk about Damien and Lincoln together, just for Damien here. Oh, shoot. I didn't even notice. Okay, so, well, I'll talk about Lincoln then. So Lincoln, a lot of people maybe don't know this, but when we travel with our sixth graders. A lot of teams don't. So, and I'm going to come back to this with some of these other guys too. But, most of the year, a lot of these guys are here in sixth grade, you're wrestling seventh and eighth graders, which is not a big deal a lot of times, but there's sometimes going to be a little physicalness difference in the age group. So, and Lincoln's not the biggest guy, so there wasn't a lot of seventh and eighth graders that were his size. And this goes for Damien too. I was going to kind of talk to them a little bit together anyway. And so they didn't have a lot of opportunities to wrestle guys their own size, but neither one of them ever complained. They did a good job. And I will also say, like I said, I hadn't coached middle school for a long time, and I wasn't crazy about the idea at the beginning of the year, but it made sense with Lincoln, and I could be with Lincoln. And I was telling Kenny this, and he said, you know what, not many people get a chance to coach their kid with their kid. So I had Jake was coaching with me, and I could coach my own son too. So that was special for me too. So.
All right, so I'll try to talk about this one right here, Brody. What I'll say about Brody is kind of unlocked potential at this point. Kind of pretty hesitant at the beginning of the year, but then at the end of the year, when he started really wrestling tough, and you can wrestle with anybody, man. So look for good things coming out of Brody coming up, because he liked to go towards the end of the year. Actually, all of our kids did, but I saw Brody making some big strides towards the end of the year wrestling, and he's willing to wrestle pretty much anybody down here. So that says a lot of things about Brody as well too. So nice job, Brody.
Chandler Green. I'm going to go back to the same thing as, Chandler, sixth grader, wrestled a ton of seventh and eighth graders, bigger seventh and eighth graders too. So, it was, he had a lot of tough matches, and some of his goals were maybe not to win a match, but to get, certain points in the match and stuff too. And there's nothing wrong with that. And because there's a lot of real physical dudes that he wrestled. But he is a hard worker. He worked his butt off, and he did a lot to make himself better. And he's more focused than a lot of you probably think he is. We did goal sheets at the beginning of the year, and I looked at them all, but he handed his in, and I kind of skimmed it, and I saw one of his goals. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, that's his business, but it was a goal on there, and I kind of chuckled to myself, or if I would have something in my mouth, I might have done a spit take, and seeing this goal. And so I thought, nah, there's no way. But the second to last event that we had, Chandler made that goal, so that was pretty nice to see. I mean, that's a testament to how hard someone can work. And there's an old saying too that if you make your goals and people aren't laughing at them, you didn't set your goals high enough. So you did a good job with those goals too. So.
Yeah, and probably the most coherent goals we had too. Yeah, he does. He's a good writer. All right, let's go, Joey, Mr. Joey. So Joey's been in our room all year long. Decided not to do any competitions, which is fine, but guess what? Joey's ready for sure. Joey's gotten so much stronger this past year, probably, wouldn't you say? Just an animal in the room sometimes, and I was always ready to go. I never saw Joey really, in between matches and stuff, he might be saying, but when it was his turn to go, he was going. So I'll just say, Joey's mad ready. You're ready to go, man. Right?
All right, Aiden Idlebees. So I got a couple stories about Aiden, and the first one I'm gonna tell is really not much to do with wrestling. I just thought it was funny, so I'm gonna make fun of him a little bit. But I'm gonna, before I say that, he is he's a hard-working son of a gun, and he doesn't like to lose. But this first story is early in the year, and I think we were going to Pelican Rapids, and we're taking vans. And most of the older guys know I don't like to stop on the way home. It's like, we're done, we're out of there, you know, and going home. And so I told you guys to bring a lunch and bring something on the way home. I know I'm kind of whatever. But anyway, so we're leaving Pelican Rapids and I hear Aiden in the back asking if we're going to stop. I said, no, we're not going to stop. I told you we're not going to stop. And we're driving by a gas station and I hear from him in the back, there's a gas station. We drive by a couple more and there's a gas station. After about the third time we drive by a gas station and I hear Aiden, well, I guess I'll just eat at home. So anyway, I thought that was a funny story. But anyway, the good story, Grand Forks Central, we wrestled there. Valley City was there. When we get there, they have the junior high and JV matches already set up on a piece of paper taped to the wall. So Aiden goes out for his match and he, about 10 seconds in, the guy whips him down with the headlock and pins him. And he walks off the mat and was like, oh, you know, sometimes you just don't get out of the chute, something happens. And we're looking back at the paper, he goes, do I have another match? And we're looking at the paper and no, I don't think you have another match. And he leaves and he's back 5 minutes later, he goes, you gotta get me another match. I need another match. You gotta get another match? I was like, yeah, if you want another match, I'll try and get you one. So I went to the other coach from Grand Forks and he said, sure, found him a guy to wrestle. And Aiden goes out there and just overhauls this kid, just beats the crap out of him. And it comes off the mat and was pretty happy. And so was I. But I like the attitude there, the fighting attitude there. He just really wanted another match and prove that he could do it. So, yeah, Aiden.
All right, let's go with Landon here. Yeah, kind of a funny story about Landon. Kind of a definitely a quiet kid, but definitely one of the harder workers in the room for sure. And I got to tell the story about one of the last weeks of practice there when him and Aiden were wrestling. So, you know, Landon's a great kid. I don't know if you guys even remember this happening, but me and Mark were standing in the middle of the room, kind of, you know, talking about what we're going to do next. And Mark goes, what, somebody's just grounding and pounding over here. And there's Aiden kind of sitting down and Landon's just boom, boom, boom. And Aiden's just like, well, that seems about right. Neither of them are mad at each other. It was just the weirdest thing that I'd see coming from over there. But hey, that's what wrestling coach me to say, hey guys, we were just like, we'll see how this goes. No, but Landon definitely lives wrestling. I mean, you know, probably knows more about wrestling than I ever will. So a lot of great things to come with you. I wish I could think of all those good stories that you guys had with the individual matches, but really what Landon does too is he'll wrestle anybody in here. We'll put him with some of the lighter weight guys, he'll go with them. We'll put him with some of the bigger guys, he'll go with them. It really doesn't matter who Landon's with. He's going to give them a run for their money. So, nice job. Keegan. All right, Keegan is a big move guy. I don't know if anybody saw the which match was it where he got the slam, but it was Keegan because Keegan just has to go, right? Big thrower, big move guy. So really, you almost have to slow down Keegan in some of the matches because he's going so hard. But it's a great thing. Actually, some of the best matches was in the room when. So these three. They're a little bit too close of friends sometimes, and they're kind of, whatever, didn't really want to get after each other. But when they did, it was a lot of fun. It kind of reminded me of even like, Jake and Cade and all them when they'd go at it in the wrestling room. They were great friends, but when they actually got into it, it was real fun. So Keegan is ready to go there too. It's a lot of fun to see in your throws, your aggressiveness, and all that stuff. Did you have more?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Brennan and Anthony a little bit at the same time for a few minutes. So one of the first days of practice, we're wrestling, and Brennan and Anthony are going at it. I mean, they're going at it hard, and they're throwing each other down so hard, and I thought they were going to start swinging at each other. So I was like, hey, hold on, guys. What's the deal here? I mean, if you guys don't like each other, we have to separate each other. We're going to do that. And like, no, we're friends. We're good friends. So it's like, and even when we were drilling and they were picking somebody up, it seemed like they wanted to just drive the other one in the mat as hard as they could when they're defenseless. And I don't get it, but I thought it was still pretty funny. And even at the end of the year, one of the last practices we had, we're wrestling live, and I kind of look over because you could hear like a body part hitting concrete, and it's those two rolling around on the concrete up against the cement wall, still wrestling. And it's like, you can't teach that stuff though, so it was great. I mean, I was not complaining about it. It was funny. Brennan, individually, he wrestled, his size is such that on JV, you see a ton of guys. He wrestled a ton of matches, and on JV, being the weight he is, you see a lot of 9th, 10th, 11th graders, even the occasional senior, you know, if they're not on their varsity. So he wrestled a ton of matches this year, and he was always competitive in the matches. It was not very often that he, you know, got the crap beat out of him in a match. You know, it was always, if he did, it was because he gave as good as he got to. So he's very competitive that way. And when you come off the mat, you can talk to him, and he listens to what you say, and coachability is a big thing there too. So, you know, great guy to have in our room, Brennan. And then Anthony wrestled a lot of varsity, and at a lot of varsity matches, he also, when he was done, came over to our JV and junior high and wrestled matches there. Towards the end of the year, we're at home, and Jake said, hey, I just counted up, and this is unofficial, so don't tell anybody. Unofficially, Jake said, hey, I was just counting up Tony's matches, and I think that varsity and junior varsity, I think he's had over 50 matches this year. I said, that's unofficial though, so you can't prove anything. So, I mean, that's a ton of matches, you know, and so, again, someone who, you know, he wrestles hard, loves to wrestle, and the competitiveness is, you can't teach that stuff, and so it's fun to have those kind of guys in the room.
All right, 2 left. Missing there, right here. All right, let's start with Noah. Noah, I mean, obviously he's been really coming out hard at the end of the year. And I would say the biggest thing about Noah is the coachability of Noah too. Definitely a sponge. This year we were lucky to have Jake in our practice room doing a lot of our technique. And what I noticed with Jake wrestling with Noah and kind of just going around the room is if you showed Noah a move, he would do it. And then he'd do it again. And then during live, he would still do it. A lot of people get into the habit of getting to their good stuff during live. Noah would do it. You know, and that was great to see. And I don't know how many times the coaches went up to Noah before his match and say, hey, you're really good at this, you're really good at this, you're really good at this. You know, you got this guy. And he would go out there with confidence and use those things. You could like tell him that he was processing those things as he was wrestling too, and you know, you could get him back at that. So I would say Noah's just a sponge right now for wrestling. That's good to see. And the NYWA State Tournament, yeah, let's give him a hand. All right, Maverick, Mr. Maverick. So Maverick was actually, we kind of have somebody run the practice room, especially the warm-ups, and Maverick's been kind of our leader for the warm-ups, and kind of, I think Maverick's kind of a lot like Mason too, kind of thrives on that leadership aspect, and really takes it in. And I would say with Maverick too, the big move guy, right? Gotta have the lat throws. I don't know how many times I'd see in practice Maverick just lat throw, like lat, one after the other. It's like, all right, Maverick, all right, settle down here. Lat throw and double arm bar for sure. But Maverick's been doing a really good job. Maverick just needs to grow a little bit, right? Get a little bit of weight, but hey, we'll have a 106 pounder, and then these guys will fill in the rest of the weight. So nice job this year, Maverick. Yeah, anything else? Jake's got a lot to say.
Jake and Dale know about this. I don't think the kids or Mark know. So, you know, Mark got relegated to the junior high room this year, but I think he thrived on it. And by the end of the year, I think he's super proud of what happened with this group. And just talking to some parents and Dale and Jake, it was a fun year. It was a learning year. It was a growing year. But Mark had some great stories. If you want to hear some good stories about the room, we have to figure out. Did you talk about Chandler's shirt? No. Okay. Ask Mark afterwards about that. Ask about keeping the scoreboard. But these kids got better. So we got shirts made. Colin, you want to hold it up so I can read it? All right. So this one says, all the fronts say the same thing. I survived Mark's boot camp. And then Mark's back says, Staff Sergeant Davis. Hand that one to Coach Davis. This one is Jake. It says, and this one says Drill Sergeant Risted. And the kids, you all get one with your name on the back and say, I survived Mark's boot camp. Excited? Again, you got to hear some of the stories. So you guys, I got the shirts right here. Where are those Prowler boys? Okay, I'm going to have Coach Limbo and Coach Davis and Coach Casper come up here. And can I get that middleweight group to come on up? And that just because we switch around a little bit. Mikhail, Ethan, Brady, Cody, Riley, Kean, Cody, and Brandon. Is that correct, right? Oh. You know you are. I must have meant to leave something.
Yeah.
You're
I know.
Jake's going to start.
I tell them every time it's Eve.
Here's
Stand back. Creamer champion.
All right, so
That's so cool.
Young Blue's not here, so he's supposed to carry the other half of the load on this. So I guess I get all 8. But this has been a fun group to coach. I talked about it all year coming into the room. Andrew and I kind of split time, and I had Monday, Wednesdays, and occasionally Fridays here, Tuesday, Thursday, and occasionally Fridays. But I think one thing that kind of stood out for me this year with this group is they're all very hard workers. They kind of push each other. I think everybody in this group has a very unique leadership style. From the young guys to Brandon, the senior, the one senior in the group. So it's been very rewarding to come in and work with these guys. And I know they're all very passionate about wrestling. Kind of funny. In my practices, sometimes we get a little sidetracked because I got me, Jake, who's a big fan of wrestling, Brian, and Josh, and then Brady and Kale. They did a lot of talking, especially on, say, Penn State, Iowa Dual, and this. So we get a little sidetracked, and it would carry over into the young moves practices. The young moves would kind of nip it in the bud, and then they come back on Thursday, tell me about it, and then I have to try to nip it in the bud. We kind of fought that towards the end of the year, but I think keeping it a little bit light too kind of helped these guys, especially in kind of a weird year. We'll talk about that quite a bit too. And I think, one thing for all the kids in this group, the whole team, 6 through 12, I think, handling that adversity is super important. And the way that, especially this group, since I was with them every day, the way that they were able to handle that is really telling of what they're capable of. Just, flexibility and kind of going with the flow and taking what comes to them and, just controlling the controllable in the different situations that they face. So I could probably go on all night about, this entire group. But I think I'll kind of get to individually each guy here. Perfect. All right, so I'll start with Kean. So Kean, I think one thing that stands out for me is he's very athletic. He's talked a lot about, he had a recurring theme this year about being dangerous. And if you go back to last year and some of the matches this year, Kean's got a great headlock. He's really good at a cradle, and he's had an opportunity to score and win any match just based off those
Chain whip? Yep, the chain whip. And just to win off those, I remember at one point, Kian, correct me if I'm wrong, but he goes, "You'll never guess what I did the other day at a tournament that I wasn't, or a match I wasn't able to make." So I was like, "What's that?" And he goes, "I got a takedown." So that's a good step in the right direction. So good job, Kian. I'm excited for what's in store for the next few years here. Riley. So Riley, at the beginning of the year, Riley, I mean, this is a pretty tough group, okay? Just going off of, I don't know their records, but, placing and just how tough this group is and competitive they are. I think Riley and a few others had some doubts about if they should really be in that room and if they kind of belonged or where they should be, and kind of where they felt they belonged. But I talked to quite a few of these young guys and kind of tried to reiterate that, there's a reason that you're at this level with this group, because one, you're that size, but two, these guys got a lot of potential, and it's important for them to be wrestling in the room, even though they might not be having, say, the success in the room. I think it translated a lot to the matches that they wrestled against. The matches that they wrestled against other teams. So, but Riley, he's a super hard worker. He never quits. And the one thing I love about Riley is he's always asking questions. He's always staying after practice, asking me if we can go over some different techniques or what can I do here and things like that. And I think that's really unique, and I think it's really important to get to where Riley wants to be, next year and when he finishes his career here as a wrestler. So I'm excited for the future, Riley, and I'm excited to work with you next year again. All right, next one. No, not Caleb. He'll be, I think, next. All right, we're gonna go with Ethan. Okay, so Ethan, I think the one thing Youngbloom had said, because he sent me a few notes, and the one thing Youngbloom had said is he was happy to have captured an iconic moment of Ethan smiling during his time in TRF. So he actually got a picture of you smiling. I think he might be smiling right now. We can't tell. Now I gotta scroll back up here. So one thing for me, one of the things that stood out for me is how great of a teammate Ethan was this year. I think he wrestled, you'd have to correct me, but I think 3 or 4 different weight classes for the team, in duels and just kind of bouncing up and down the lineup. These guys, they've all seem to kind of grow at the same pace and they're on the same weight, which is tough. But he definitely helped serve the needs to get the team to, win big duels and accomplish that record-setting, 22 wins. So I also think one thing that stood out about Ethan is he's very selfless. The practices heading into the super section week, it's always interesting to see who shows up once they haven't qualified. And Ethan showed up every single day to be there to work out with Kale. And I think that's super important. I think every one of these guys up here, if they didn't qualify, I think they would have done the same thing for him. But for him to come in, it's super tough. But to come to practice and do those types of things is really just a mark of a great teammate and really strong character. The other thing that sticks out with me for Ethan is I think I worked with him since about 7th grade when I first moved back, and he showed some major flashes of potential. And I think this year he was really close against some really good kids. The one match that sticks out in my mind was a kid from Greenbush. I think he was ranked 10th, 9th, 10th, something like that at the time, and Griffin had a close match with him the year prior. And I think Ethan ended up losing like a 3-2 match, but watching that Greenbush kid walk off the mat, he looked like he was happy that he knew he didn't have to wrestle Ethan ever again, since his career was going to be done after this year. So I think that's super important as well, and I think it's going to be fun to watch Ethan grow here in the next 3 years and see where he ends up. So with that said, we'll move on to Kale. So Kale, I remember Kale since he was kind of in diapers. And he was kind of around the team, running around, kind of like what Cooper does now. So it's kind of fun to see Cooper as well as Kale's development. And I remember one practice, Kale and I kind of hit heads, and I saw some stars, and I'd take a little break, and Kale's just standing there waiting for me to continue to wrestle, and I'm like, all right, you gotta give me like 20 seconds to kind of catch myself. I think I caught Ethan's knee earlier, and I think I hit heads with Griffin. It was kind of a rough practice. These guys kind of beat me up this year. But so yeah, he's always eager. He's super competitive. When I was wrestling with him, the one thing I noticed, he's always on the attack. He's not afraid. Whether it's me, Jake, Josh, Andrew, Griffin, Brady, he's always moving forward, and he's going to compete. And he competes super hard. And I enjoyed that Piers match. Things got a little chippy. And but it kind of showed me Kale's grit and his competitiveness. He was down maybe like 6-0, but he was still giving her heck and just kept coming at the kid. And he can't teach that. You can't teach that competitiveness and that toughness. And if you go back to the dangerousness, being dangerous, as Kenny had said all year. Those of you that watch Kale, he can end the match at any time. He's got a really good Greco brand of wrestling, I would call it. Hopefully we can work on some more leg attacks, but he's really fun to watch with his throws and everything that he does. So I really enjoy Kale's brand of wrestling, and he's already 2-time state qualifier, and we got 2 more cracks at it to get on the podium and hopefully the top. So looking forward to that during the coming years. All right, Zoom. So my first experience or time meeting Brandon was I came back during college, and I was probably, I was a little intense, probably more than I am now, probably somewhere between where I am now and where Mark's at with the middle schoolers. But so I came back, and I don't remember exactly how it all went, but Brandon and his brother Felix were at the practice or the camp that we were doing. And they were kind of off in the corner, messing around, and I'm like, all right, if you guys are going to screw around all day, you can just leave. And, I would go back, and we're doing stuff, and I look over, and I'm like, oh, they actually left. Like, crap, that's not good. And 10 minutes later, Kenny comes up the stairs, he goes, where's Brandon and Felix? I'm like, I think they left. Why? He's like, well, I'll tell you why. He's like, what the heck are you doing? You can't be doing it. These guys are playing hockey too. We need the wrestling. So that was my first experience with Brandon. I'm glad to see you made it through the program. and Brandon, I'm really proud of you this season. You're a quiet guy by nature, but you definitely came out of your shell. I enjoyed the conversations that we had. Brandon's another guy that he's a quiet leader. He leads by example. He's always asking questions. I mean, one time we were at practice, he's asking me about, I think, a single leg, and then eventually it kind of turned into a left-handed high C, and we just kind of, me, him, and Jake were throwing ideas at the dartboard, and he's really fun to work with. He's very flexible in what he's willing to learn and capable of learning, and he'll try anything. So that was very nice as a coach to work with Brandon on those things. Another point to bring up, I think Brandon and Weenan were wrestling one day, and Cody slapped on a cradle, and I happened to look over, and Brandon ends up with his own cradle and pinning Weenan. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And this kid has a cradle. You go back to the dangerous deal, and Brandon can finish any match on top with that cradle. So I think with that being said, I'm super proud of Brandon, being on this team and doing a lot like what Ethan had done and bumping up and down the lineup. And, he wrestled up that 170, 182, 160, probably could have made 145 in a normal year. So he's kind of all over the lineup. And, he's a state qualifier. Kenny kind of touched on that earlier. And, Brandon, I think we're really going to miss you as a coaching staff. These guys are going to miss you. I'm going to miss you, but I'm super excited for your future, and I wish you the best of luck. All right, next one is Wiener. So I didn't really know Cody a whole lot until last year. And coming into the room, we kind of clashed heads on ideas and Prowler wrestling philosophies and things like that. It was kind of like trying to feed Cooper broccoli. You know, trying to feed a toddler broccoli is about the analogy I could come up with, right? We butt heads quite a bit, not in a bad way, but just kind of going back and forth. I had kind of a recurring joke with Cody, because last year, instead of going to 132, he wanted to go up to 160. And everybody, or most of you know that last year he kind of caught fire and went like rattled off 20 wins in a row and ended up winning the section title in a super tough bracket, qualifying for state for the first time. And this year he picked up right where he left off, surprisingly at 160. And I'll be honest, you know, if somebody would have said Cody was going to place at 160 this year, I probably would have laughed and spit out my food, as Mark pointed out earlier. But he found a way to get it done. And the one thing about Cody that's been awesome in his development is I think he's taken a lot of his own style, and he's taken some of my style ideas, and he's taken some of Young Blue stuff and the other coaches on staff, and he's just found a way to make that his own unique style. And it's obviously it's paying off, and couldn't be more proud of you, Cody, being a state placer. Looking forward to next year. I know you're going to put in some more work this summer, and look forward to that. The other thing I'll say about Cody that I'm more proud of than, say, his accomplishments and things like that is where he's come as a leader in the group. I think last year, like I said, we kind of locked heads and some things like that. And I think the biggest change for Cody this year has been, you know, being a leader. He's super positive, super encouraging for the rest of the guys in the room. You know, guys are having a tough practice or we do some different things, and guys are, you know, in the middle for an extended period of time, and it's tough, and it's mentally taxing too. And Cody's always there to pick his teammates up. So, you know, I think beyond anything, like I said, Cody, I think I'm most proud of you for that. And I think that'll benefit you and the team, you know, for years to come here. So we're lucky to have you back for one more year. All right, Griffin, and then Brady. So two more. Bear with me. I'm getting cotton out here talking. Okay, Griffin. So, wow, Griffin's a freshman. I think throughout the year, me personally, maybe some of the other coaches would agree that, you know, sometimes we lose sight that he's only a freshman. And to be a two-time right, state qualifier? Yeah. And a placer, and to place fifth in dominating fashion like he did, as Kenny pointed out earlier, it is super impressive. You know, you go back and look at some of the wins he had, tech falling, a kid who's ranked 6th from Pequot in the duel, majoring, a kid who's ranked like 3rd from ACGC, and then it's 3 losses, 2 to state champs and another to a really tough 3rd place kid. It's just incredible. So, I mean, Ken could probably correct me, but maybe one of the best or the best freshman season by anybody is you know, very, very impressive. But beyond that, I think, you know, Griffin as a teammate is selfless, and all these guys are. But Griffin's super driven. He's always doing stuff before practice, after practice. He's always working super hard. He's always asking questions. He does everything right. You know, and it's I you know try to find ways to challenge him both mentally and physically, and he always finds a way to meet those challenges. So very, very impressed with that. He's already, like I said, a 2-time state entrant, placing 5th. Going to be around for 3 more years, so I think you know, the guys that are going to be back are really going to benefit from that. And I think next year we get back to a regular room. Just in general, these young guys that Coach Davis had up here, and even some of the bigger guys will really benefit from getting to see all these guys and kind of the hard work that they put in, and just kind of being able to see that. And I look back at, say, my own experience, and I think I had a lot of guys that modeled that, and I think it's important for the entirety of the program to see that. So that was kind of missing this year, unfortunately, but hopefully things will be back to normal next year. All right, so let's give the state week. So yeah, I mean, Brady had a heck of a season. Super proud. I mean, I could rattle off, a few of the wins that he had. And one loss. Yeah, one loss. So that was bumping up a weight class to a really tough kid too. But Brady had a tremendous season, knocking off everybody in sight, doing it a bunch of different ways. You go back to the LPGE match. I was sitting on my couch watching it on the live feed, kind of yelling at the TV, wondering why Brady's let this kid in on his leg for the last minute of the match, and somehow found a way to fend it off. And I did that at my parents' house too, watching it on their TV in the state final. I was like, "What are you doing, man?" But he found a way to get it done. And so that's been really fun. I think Brady, he's found a variety of ways to win matches, whether it's been off of takedowns, ride-outs, getting some pins. I remember in the UNC duel throwing a pretty dang tough kid to his back for 6. I think there was one duel too. I was telling you to ride the kid or to work on your pinning combination. So Brady cuts him, kind of looks over at me, then throws and pins him. And I was like, oh, I guess that kind of counts too. So, so I think the other thing too with Brady, I think kind of what's changed, and you could probably correct me if I'm wrong here, but is maybe his confidence in himself. And I think last year, watching you wrestle a little bit, I think there were some doubts and just kind of being a wrestling almanac that you are, maybe getting into your head a little bit about, this guy's really good and that guy's pretty good and things like that. But I think really this year, Brady he didn't care if it was Brody Elliott or Jack Fudge or Connor Simmons or Logan Vaughn. He just went after him and approached it the exact same way every match and just wrestled his style. And if things weren't going, he'd change it up and just found ways to win. And I think that's super important. I think, like I said, with the kind of the complexities of the season and the state tournament and things like that, just finding a way to win the super section and a super tough bracket and then go down to state the next weekend with an injury and find a way to, compete and do it at a high level is very impressive. So, the other thing too for you young guys, Brady was ranked 5th heading into the state tournament, and he knocked off number 4, who was undefeated, knocked off number 2, and knocked off number 1 respectively. So for those of you guys that look at rankings, I know everybody does, but rankings at that point in the season don't really matter, And I think we could go through the other guys that place and kind of look at ranks and where placing ended up, and I think all of our guys out wrestled the rank. So very, very cool to see that as well. The other thing, there's a phenomenon in life and maybe sports, and I think, I can't remember but when I saw it, but it was about this runner who ran a sub 5-minute mile. Darcy, you might know his name, but anyway, it had never been done before, and this guy did it, and then all of a sudden, all these sub 5-minute miles started happening. And so with Brady's state championship and then having 3 more other placers to do it, I'm really hoping that, we're just kind of getting into another good era of Prowler wrestling, and I think having Noah win a state title in NYWA and Keegan take 7th and a few other guys wrestle really well down there, it is very telling about the group that we have kind of in the line and coming up, and it's going to be fun to be a part of here for the next few years. All right, last one, kind of a surprise, but I'm going to talk about Jake for just a brief second. Yeah, so I think Jake deserves to get a mention here because he, if you guys are, the reason why he was able to coach and be a part of it this year is Northland canceled their wrestling season, which is super unfortunate for Jake. But he found a way to make the most out of the situation, and that situation was to coach wrestling. I think he's wrestling probably anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day, whether it was here or he worked out with Carter Sorensen from Boston, was making trips to NDSU to practice. So we go back to a little bit of controlling what you can control in the situations, and I think this year is going to be very very beneficial for Jake heading into next season. Just having been able to teach and learn through that process and then all the wrestling that he's been able to do. So I'm super excited to watch Jake next year and see where he ends up. And I know one thing's for sure, he's definitely got a future in coaching. So with that, I'm going to end my long speech here. Sorry.
All right, last group, come on up. Nick Spear in the upper weights.
How that?
No, you guys, line your way up here. Let's go. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read what Scott Camp sent me. He's really bummed he couldn't make it. You'll see in the letter, but Scott had time in his life this year. He thanked us a bunch, and I'll read the letter and you'll see what he had to say. So this is from Scott Camp. This year was my first year coaching high school wrestling since I left in 2013. It has turned out to be a great joy to have the opportunity to coach this year. Next few paragraphs are what I am preparing for Coach Kaiser to read at the Banquet in my absence. Thank you for the opportunity to coach this year. When our college season was canceled in mid-November, I wasn't sure what I would do this winter. I was in a difficult spot. For the first time in close to 30 years, I would not be actively competing or coaching in wrestling. Or so I thought. Shortly after our college season was canceled, the state high school finalized its regular season plans for the high school season. I figured I would be bored sitting for 9 months waiting for the next college season to arrive, so I asked Coach Kaiser if I could volunteer. As a side note, I don't think you get better at coaching by sitting around. Coach Kaiser said yes, and I told him my plan was to come to practice a few days a week, be at the home matches, and maybe hit a couple of the road matches. That plan didn't last long. I think I missed 1 or 2 practices the entire season. I didn't miss a home duel, and I believe I only missed 2 or 3 of the away matches. This was a very rewarding experience. Early on, we talked about making the most of each practice and competition, getting better each day, and this team did that. Coach Kaiser, Coach Poisson, and I worked with wrestlers at 182 to heavyweight. The 2 things that impressed me most were the rate of improvement shown by the team and its general competitiveness. This heavyweight group loved to compete, and it wasn't limited to wrestling. There was a ball in the wrestling room. It didn't matter what sport the ball was intended to be used for. The game of dodgeball was due to break out. This included spike ball in the Times building. The guys would arrive 30 minutes before practice to chuck the spike ball at each other before every practice. It was quite loud next door at the Times office, but no one complained. So he's got thoughts on each wrestler. I'm going to go to his end, and then I'll go through each wrestler and add a few things. But he closes with, thank you to the People Falls Wrestling family and to Coach Kaiser for the opportunity to return to my coaching roots for 1 season. It was very rewarding to be a part of this great season. So as you can see, Coach Camp, he was going to show up 1 or 2 days a week. He didn't miss nothing. He had a blast. You know, you never seen someone so mad as the day he got turned down. He couldn't be at the state tournament as a media person. He was livid. We all thought the media was going to be able to be there. They didn't get to be there. He was frustrated. He didn't get to see these guys compete at state. But he had fun in the hotel room, right, Jake? Okay, so some final thoughts of this group. Start with Nick Spear. When you look across this group, I think Nick Spear's like the 3rd or 4th tallest. These are 13 and 20 pounder. So he spent a lot of time in all 3 rooms, but I think he spent the most time in our room. So me and Scott said, we want to talk about Nick. We're taking him. So Nick Spear, upper body worked for him. You can tell the Greco stuff from Frontier Wrestling Club was paid off. At the section tournament, he put his best matches together. A great tech, put your best matches together. Great season for Nick. Then I'm going to go in order here at 182 and up. Dakota Feldman. Never a dull match. Dakota got after it this year. Put a lot of guys in their back, including a Bemidji wrestler who made the Elite 8 at 182 in class AAA. Great job, great career, Dakota. Super proud of you. Carter Ingebrigtsen. Big, strong kid with the best front headlock in the upper weight room. He has a chance to become a great wrestler. Super proud of the effort he put in this year. Jackson Ingram. Best hand fighter in the upper weights. Still working on developing offense on the feet, but made huge strides this year. Looking forward to seeing his growth in the coming years. He also has a chance to be a great wrestler. Mason Iverson, one of the most cerebral wrestlers I've ever coached. I coached Mason a little over the years in freestyle Greco. For a long time, he was known only for his headlock. Then he developed a double leg and kind of abandoned the headlock. Early in the season, I learned that Mason was one of the most technical wrestlers on the roster. He probably knew too much technique from all the practices, camps, and clinics over the years, and wasn't really able to work his best stuff into a flowing style. We prioritized which attacks should be his go-to stuff in all 3 phases, and he got really confident in his leg attacks. After dropping a match to Bull from Crookston, I believe he won 13 consecutive matches before losing the state semifinals. Mason proved this year that he can win big matches, and I would love to have him continue his wrestling career at Northland. Jolson Sergeant. This was my first year coaching Jolson, and I learned early on that his style follows a different set of rules. As Andrew Youngman said, he has learned to wrestle a style that works well for his body. Jolson gives guys fits. He is high energy and compact. He had a devastating end to an otherwise awesome season. I told him shortly afterward to not let one loss or one tournament define him. Albeit Jolson has the tools to place at state next year, and he's already putting in the work to make that potential a reality. Colin Ruggerman. Colin and Jolson are both big-time gamers who played as big a role as anyone on the team in getting wins over teams like UNC and, of course, the section semifinal matchup against Perm. I won't take credit for the idea of having Colin wrestle. Here's that story I was going to tell you. Having Colin wrestle 220 that duel against Perm, that goes to Brady and Brian Casper. But I will take credit for giving it my blessing and saying it was a great idea. Brian came up to me around 160, 170 and asked if I thought Colin could beat the Perm 220. I thought about it for a second. We called it a 220-pound match in the Perm DGF duel and said yes. I was confident Colin could win. This was Colin's first year at heavyweight 220, and he really settled into a style that works despite giving 30 to 50 pounds up on a routine basis. Great season, Colin. So, obviously, Scott had a great year this year. Fun time coaching all you guys. I'm going to add a few things. Just the whole group. This group got better all season. And it's no secret that we compared ourselves to that middleweight group. You know, coming into the year, they had hundreds of more wins than we had as a group. But we challenged each other. And I think this whole wrestling community saw every group get better in these pods. And this group had some awesome finishes for us in the team competitions. You know, whether it was the UNC duel, the Perm duel, the Peacock Lakes duel, the DGF duel. It was fun to see these guys be gamers, you know, all the way up in those upper weights, and really carry the team sometimes to victory. And you didn't know at the beginning of the year, he didn't have a lot of wins. In fact, I know Colin, to start the year, didn't have very many varsity career wins. He has a lot now, okay? He's holding up his hand, and that's what it was, okay? So you wonder early on in the year, we weren't sure what to expect out of Colin. We kind of had some spot duty. By the end of the year, we were rolling with Colin. He was our guy, right? And that was fun. Go back to Dakota. I wish Dakota had a couple more years on him. He has a lot of potential. He's a strong kid. Never out of a match because of his offense. And that was fun to see. Super proud of him finishing his career as a pro wrestler. And he just is a kid that I won't forget. Carter Iverson, strong, fast, athletic wrestler. When Colin or Carter gets confident, not many people are going to be able to go with this kid. You look at his stats in the weight room, you watch him run, you watch his athleticism. He's going to get some confidence and not lose much next couple of years. And that's the coaching camps, the same thing. Jolson, unbelievable. The most fun year I've had as a coach for one kid in duels. I had friends back home that had to rewatch some of his matches, and I won't go through the antics and stuff that you saw. They rewatched it because I had to watch it 5 times. I couldn't get enough. The mullet shape, all this stuff. It was awesome. It was iconic. I don't think any of us will forget the year Jolson had for the team. And I think that says something too about Coach Fimble brought this up, being great teammates. Jolson was a great teammate in these duels. He was ready. I think it was a Perm one, 287-pound guy. I was trying to go get ready. He goes, I got this, coach. And literally 35 seconds, he had to get his back twice before he did it. I showed that in college match to all my classes, and they were both so quick. I mean, they got the job done. And then Jolson, again, I coach for a while. I can't remember a guy having that many big-time gamer matches and volumes. You know, it's pretty cool. We call them kind of closer, a baseball analogy. Colin, phenomenal year. And I look at the one match I think about that shows you how far he came. to beat the Sox center kid at sections. His most complete match, I think. It comes down, he's winning by 1, third period. Let's throw him, why not? Throws him, wins him, advances to the super section. Didn't have to do it, but that's who he is. Okay? Stay within yourself. What does Colin do? He throws him. And he did. He saw it, felt it, did it. Jackson Ingram, coach, you can't talk about his hand fighting. And I want to talk about his work ethic. From fall training through the year, Jackson evolved into a awesome hand fighter and a wrestler who worked hard. And I think Jackson, 30 pounds, somewhere in there, from beginning to end, just from working hard and busting his butt every day. I'll go to Nick's year next. Nick puts a ton of time in the off season. Nick's a wrestler. I really love how he was able to showcase his Greco. So I seen that match against Pequot Lakes. Really, that match there, turn that duel around. We were looking at the next time we wrestled. Can Nick do that again? We weren't sure. He dang near did it 3 times. Okay? He showed he could do it again. That was awesome. Mason, I'm going to chat a little bit about Mason. Again, I won't forget any of you guys. Mason's a senior. He bumped in and out of the rankings this year. He took 4th in state. I think Mason, I know he was disappointed not making the state finals and things like that. The year Mason had, the turnaround, when he started to figure out his style, like Coach Camp said, was impressive. Placed 4th in state. Again, a guy who they didn't think he'd be the rankings some of the time. Hell of a year for Mason Iverson. And this whole group, I think Van would agree, Scott, you guys made strides and makes proud to be your coaches this year. Let's give this group a huge hand. Okay. You guys can sit down. We're gonna start awards. And we'll call you all back up. That's the longest discussion we've had with our kids, but I think it tells you something about the season we had. And so I'm not going to go off on more because it's already getting late, but I need the other coaches to help me with awards. Okay, so I'll need the other coaches coming up. Yeah. Actually, let's do those now. Is Caitlin here? Stevenson? So Chloe gets 2 flowers now. Come on up, Chloe. So, managing in COVID is crazy. Chloe, come up here. You have to stand here. And I've said this many times. I don't know if I told Chloe this. These are the best stats we ever had. I was able to take our stats, send them right to the newspaper. They were perfect. And again, managing the year with COVID was tough. And Chloe found me another manager who actually did a nice job. I hope she's coming back so she can train the next one in. But super happy to have Chloe as a manager. Sad to see her go. She's a fun, awesome person. I always tease, she's got the best smile in the family. And I love having, because I talked about this earlier, and I thought of Chloe and actually girls too, like wrestling sometimes we get so centered on our wrestlers. Chloe, you meant as much as this team's wrestlers. Let's give Chloe a hand. And you can decide if you want to keep that flower, we should give it to Caitlin, I don't know. She wasn't here. Okay, so awards, we're gonna roll through awards, and these are all there. This year I decided to print them all in there so there aren't any surprises if you read through the book. Because these are keepsakes, I thought, well, let's put them in there. So we're going to start with, you guys have the things, you know where we're going? We're going to start with the state awards. Now, I hadn't thought about this for a long time. In a COVID year, we didn't want to worry about perfect attendance because if kids were sick, they should stay home. But the middle school, the attendance was so phenomenal, and I didn't tell them we weren't going to do this, so I am giving state awards for that group. I'll talk about the older group. So, the junior high perfect attendance state award winners, Lincoln, Damien, Owen, and Landon. Let's give these guys a huge hand. Come on up here. Come on up here. And then the honorable mention, and I don't have a certificate for you, but you will get to come to the meal, would be Aiden, Chandler, Keegan, and Maverick. So 8 of you. Now the varsity group, again, I didn't do an award. If you had perfect attendance, you could chat with me later. I'll talk about doing something. I understand it. I've always done this for work. So we can talk about doing something. All right, moving on. North Star All Conference. Most of you are at 10. These are based on section and coaches' votes. So section based and coaches' votes is a little goofy this year with the section, super section stuff. So here we go. 10 all conference. Noah Jacobson, Nick Spear, Kale Geiser, Griffin Levine, Brady Casper, Cody Weenan, Brandon Triniga, Mason Iverson, Jolson Sergeant, Holland Rugby. Give these guys a hand. They are the medals. And then honorable mention, certificates are coming. They didn't get here in the mail yet. We've got some with medals. Keegan Herman's and Ethan Lane, so you should get all conference certificates if you don't get one by next week. And there's a lot of awards that haven't came yet, kind of bummed. So, all academic section, you guys got your awards, so you don't have to come up here at the section tournament. Academic all-state, we don't know yet. Letter first year letter winners. Keegan Hermanson, Maverick Iverson, Noah Jacobson, Andy Peralta, Brendan Johnson, and Carter Iverson. You guys can go get your letters from the activity office. Like, people don't wear letterman's jackets anymore, but you get a big letter when you get. So she has to look if you lettered in another sport. If you haven't, you get your letter. But everyone gets a pin. So the new and returning letter winners. So if I read your name, you'll get a pin. Come get that. So those people I just read. Keegan, Maverick, Noah, Anthony, Brendan, and Carter. Let's give those guys a hand. And then the return letter winners, Nick Spear, Kale Geiser, Ethan Lane, Griffin Levine, Rodney Boyson, Brady Casper, Cody Min, Brandon Triniga, Dakota Feldman, Mason Iverson, Jolson Sergeant, Colin Rugman, and Jackson Ingram. Next, and I know I'm going fast, so yell at me, throw stuff at me if I need to slow down. But Captain's Awards, and this is a certificate. So actually, Captain's Awards this year: Brady Casper, Cody Weenan, Brandon Triniga, and Mason Iverson. And then State Entrance Awards. Now, State Entrance, you take these posters. Some of them are already down for you. You take the posters. That's what you get, and some of you will get other medals. There should be section medals coming from Pequot Lakes that day. I don't know why they're not here. They should be coming. So State Entrance: Noah Jacobson, Nick Spear, Kale Geiser, Griffin Levine, Brady Casper, Cody Weenan, Brandon Triniga, Mason Iverson, Colin Rugman. Super section medalists. I'm kind of proud of these. I was getting frustrated the state wasn't giving any awards to anything. These kids work hard. They deserve awards. So I went to Universal, so we had them make heavy medals, okay, for super sections. So super section champions, Brady Casper, Mason Iverson, Cody Weenan. I had to look up what color the ribbons are. I haven't ever ordered medals like this before. Then super section runner-up, Griffin Levine. Super section fourth place finishers, Brandon Triniga and Kale Geiser. All-State. So we had 4 All-State award winners this year, the most we've had since 2009. Brady Casper placed first, Mason Iverson 4th, Griffin Levine 5th, Cody Weenan 6th. Let's give these guys a big hand. These All-State. And again, every single one of these, Coach Tribble alluded to this, placed above their ranking. It just tells how much these kids improved all year long. I think we were underrated. Now to the plaques. 100 wins plaques for Griffin Levine and Mason Iverson. The dates are on the plaque. Now, Mason, yours says pins instead of wins. So, Justin, you'll have to go to Universal and tell them to fix it. Justin here? Yeah. And then, so come grab those 50 pins award. This one is right. It says 50 pins. I think that's why you did Mason's wrong. Brandon Triniga. Okay, statistical and voting awards. So if you get a plaque, I'll talk about it at the end what we need to do for pictures. I think we'll do them there. I'll wait. Let me get through these ones. So again, these are all in here, so most of you know them, but the statistical awards are down a little bit because we didn't have 50 matches like we've had the last couple of years. So most of your balls with 31, Griffin Levine. Most takedowns with 95, Brady Casper. Let's give him a hand. Most pins with 24, Griffin Levine. Most reversals with 16. This might be his third year winning. Cody Weenan. Most improved, and this was almost unanimous, Jolson Sergeant. The Irv Wilson Award, which now, I should get Jen to give me a picture of Jake and put it there for a month, because I never did get a picture of Jake. It was COVID, so I had to sit in my room forever. But the Irv Wilson Award this year, that's the most dedicated Prowler wrestler, goes to Mason Iverson this year. Hardest Worker Award, Griffin Lundeen. JD Hardest Worker Award, and this was a tough one. I had to ask the coaches several times, and we had to talk it through, so that's a good sign. We have a lot of kids who are working hard. This year's award goes to Landon Larson. Most Valuable Wrestler Award, Brady Castle. And also, state champion plaque goes to Brady Castle. Okay, I want the 3 seniors up here on stage. Yeah, one more award. You guys can come out, come to get this. This is not a surprise either. I started this award last year. I don't think keep it because I love it. We talk about being dangerous. Mr. Excitement Award winner, Jolson Sergeant. Okay, so the 3 seniors, I'm going to try not to cry, so I'm not going to look at you at all. I got 2 larges and an extra large. All right, so I thought about what I want to give my seniors as a going away gift, and I decided, you know what? And JT inspired me. So we have a 19-year-old kid who coached this year. He coached 4-year-olds. He coached middle school kids. He coached juniors and seniors at the times and other places. He did a nice job. I thought, you know what? One thing I want to give my going out seniors this year is coaching shirts. So hold up. Right? I always talk about when you graduate from a wrestling program, you have my pride for life. I'm giving you those so you come back into our wrestling room sometime and give back to the program. All of you guys have a lot to give. The pride I have in all 3 of you for all sorts of reasons, huge. Dakota, things haven't always been easy, but you came every day this year, got better, supported your teammates. Okay? Mason, if you had said as a 10th grader, Mason was going to be a double-leg machine. Who would believe him? Not a guy. He made such strides, became an awesome leader. Super proud of the career this kid had. Brandon Triniga, you want to talk about heart and grit? This kid right here. He's 170 pounder, probably a 45 pounder. We had 7 145 pounders. Right? Look how good we did. Right? That's not too bad. Right? I don't know if I know someone that when I first watched Brandon wrestle in 5th or 6th grade that's come farther than this guy. You want to talk about most improved career? You're looking at a kid that did so much, put so much time in, worked so hard. And I think the thing that you can't quantify is the leader he became by the end as well. Coach Nimmo mentioned this with a few guys with high character. Unbelievable. A group of seniors that I won't forget. And I gave you these so you come back and help the program out, and you always come back, you'll always have my respect. Let's give these guys a huge hand. Okay. Okay. So, well, Kevin actually have a few things. You guys can have a seat. Kevin has some stuff for Coach Youngboom. He's forgotten what he wants to say. I'm going to start with this with Coach Youngboom. He said I could do it. I don't know if you put it in your thing. Coach Youngboom, we've been blessed to have the artist for 4 years. We always knew we were going to get 3 years. Any more was extra. He's taken a job at Foresight, and so they'll be leaving us this year. And he's kind of made it public. People kind of start to know. He's going to miss you guys. There's so much wonderful things to say about the program. and he's done so much for us too. So it's been a mutual fun relationship. He'll be around this summer. We're going to hire him to paint the mural in the rest of the room since he is an artist and a wrestler. He keeps asking me, "What do you want me to do up there?" I said, "I don't know. You're the wrestler and the artist, not me." So he's going to figure out what he's going to do. And we're going to, I'll talk to some parents and things afterwards. I'd like to set something up where we bring Andrew and his wife Callie back to kind of throw a going away party for them. But Kevin, good.
No, it's not a lot, but yeah, bear with me one more time here. So yeah, Andrew just sent me a text and had kind of a few things to put together. I mentioned it right away when I talked about Ethan, the iconic smile picture that he got. So Sam and Jenny have to look for that, get that from him. He said, "Caleb, just pretend someone is yelling at you to bend your knees and run faster next to you. You'll be fine." And then he said, "I'm happy to have learned about the Big Booty remixes. Thank you, Cody. You'll have to make sure to have at least one practice next year where you wear singlets, listen to Big Booty remix, and wrestle for 45 minutes straight." And then to end it, he said, "You guys are lucky to have the coaches that you do. It's been a great experience coaching with Geyser. He celebrates effort in a pretty rare way, and I believe that's what has created this culture where you guys leave it on the mat every time. You guys go for it, and that was behind a lot of our successes here. Congratulations on a great season. Good luck next year. I'll be rooting for you guys." Coach Young.
I'll go through the picture order.
You guys can come up here too. Before we end, some of you guys maybe didn't know this happened in Park Rapids this year, but Kenny got his 300th career win. We presented that plaque to him that night, and I don't think a lot of people appreciate how much work goes into what Kenny has done. I know I'm not a numbers guy at all. He is a Scott and stuff, but I don't think since he's been here, he hasn't had an under 500 record. I think one year maybe it was 500, but ever since then it's just been win after win after win, and it's not easy to do. And the effort he puts into it, and the time he puts into it, and I could tell you 100 different stories of what he has done to get kids to come out for wrestling and to help wrestling. I mean, just off the top of my head, I know Kay and Dre Malone were playing basketball. They got cut from the basketball team, and Kenny was waiting at the door, ushered them up to the wrestling room. One of them made the state tournament. I mean, it's just there's story after story like that. Working in the weight room and recruiting kids to come and wrestle, because that's what you need to have a good wrestling program. You need people there, and Kenny does a really good job of doing that. Anybody else want to say something?
One more time. You guys know one more time, please.
So I had the good fortune of being here Kenny's first year, which was my 6th grade year, and now I'm back, which I never thought in a million years would happen. But yeah, I mean, we could go on for days here, but to kind of echo what Mark said, I think the effort and the passion that Kenny has for the sport and the community and the program is second to none. And I think without his drive and his guidance for the program and everything that he's done for me, I don't know if I could say that I'd be standing up here right now and working with these guys. I think what Kenny's done a lot for me. I've been fortunate to have Mark as a coach and a lot of the coaches and just a lot of good coaches in general. It's as fun as it was to wrestle for Kenny, I've had more fun coaching for him. So thank you.
Just one more thing real quick too. I think Kenny is probably the most unselfish head coach there is, probably for any sport, but I know for wrestling. He seeks out other people who he thinks to maybe help coach and show stuff. And I know there's some coaches in our state who would be appalled at the idea of someone else coming in and showing technique that wasn't theirs. And Kenny is smart enough to know that you need, a lot of help from a lot of people to be successful. And that's one of the things that makes him such a great coach and has gotten him where he is today with the 300 wins. And I got a feeling there's going to be quite a few more coming. So, and another real quick story, just about these incidental things that happen that if you're not on the ball and don't know what you know. We also had a kid that came up. We were starting wrestling practice, and there was a strange kid up in the wrestling room, and he's running. And Kenny was asking what he's doing, and he said, "Do you mind if I'm gonna do some MMA or something? Do you mind if I run and get in shape during practice?" And Kenny said, "No, you can't do that. How about you join the team?" So the kid joined the team and was instrumental in us beating Monoman that year to get to the state tournament for the first time. I mean, it's just little things when you're a person with some vision and know what it takes to get the job done. Just little things that if they didn't happen, we maybe wouldn't be where we're at. So, and myself included, this is getting long, but I think it was probably 2004. I'm not sure. What was your first year? So it was a year or two after that. And I had coached before that a little bit, but I wasn't, I kind of wanted to help out and be a part of it again. And I didn't know who Kenny was, but I happened to be at Hugo's, and this guy walked in and was like, "God, I think that's Kenny Geiser. I think it's the coach, I'm not sure." But I went up to him and I said, "Hey, are you Kenny Geiser?" He goes, "Yes, I am." And I told him who I was, and I just said, "Hey, I would like to come up and help practice or whatever, as much as I can, and do you mind?" And he 100%, yes, for sure, 100%. Even if it was his first or second year coaching, he's still right away, like, we're taking any help he could get, so that's what got me back into it too, because he was so eager to, take the help that was there, so.
And this is gonna be real quick, actually, because the same exact thing happened with me. Actually, I found out that I was hired into the district before I knew I was hired into the district. I get a call from a random number. I'm in town, and I think it's probably the high school saying, "Hey, we offered you the position." It's Geiser. I don't know how I got that number, but he's like, "Hey, do you want to come coach wrestling?" And I'm like, "I'd love to. I probably need a job first." He goes, "Oh, no, you got it already. I already know." I'm like, okay. Already did. We didn't even hear that, right? So yeah, he's always on the ball. Then Youngboom, I think Mr. Zess was like, "Hey, what kind of guy that's a wrestler and an artist?" The first guy like, "What? Wrestling artist? Weird." But then he was on a mission to find out what this guy was. Found out before the end of the day. That was without him telling you. And he was already hired before we offered. Then Mr. Hayes here comes in, had no wrestling experience, looks at the guy. Well, this guy can help us out too. Let's get this guy in our room. So yeah, testament to Kenny for always finding the people to help out the program.
He did the same thing with Eric Attic too, by the way. He said, we hired a fight teacher, his last name was Attic. I think this Attic was a state champ a little while ago. I'm not sure if that's him or not. They looked him up, but Eric wasn't a state champ, but was a state participant. So it's like, he recognized the name just like that, and let's make sure he's on board and he's coaching and stuff. So the list goes on and on. And so anyway, congratulations, Kenny. It's been an honor to coach with you these years.
Well, we can tell stories forever. One thing I'll just say, and we got to move it. It's like kids have school tomorrow, but the Scott McCamp, he talks about breaking the band up or getting the band together again. Back in the day, we first made our state tournament in 2007. It was me and Mark and Scott and Jeremy Lee, and I can't remember who was there. But we called Attic, myself, Mark, and Scott with the band. And so we kind of got the band back together this year, Scott said, because he came back. Kevin, who was on some of those teams, the band was together, was back. And the staff matters so much. I wish other programs and people would understand how much these guys help you win. Okay? I don't have 300 wins because of me. I have 300 wins because of all these guys. Our program. So, all right. Thank you guys. I don't want to talk about myself anymore. I'll talk about pictures. What we need for pictures. I have to go to the bathroom. And then when we get going, I need letter winners. All conference award winners. What other ones does Scott always want? Letter winners is big, so that's a big group. Then we'll do all conference. Anyone that want a plaque, let's do those three to start with. Then I'll look at my list and start calling who I need. Okay? So, right there. Yeah, let's do it there. Right over there. Okay, so thank you guys. Awesome night. Parents, come on up for pictures too. It got to be long, but I think your kids deserve it. Oh, one other thing. Our state shirts, we're going to put them on here by size. If you're a family who did not get state shirts yet, please you come on up and get your shirts. once they're done at the end of the night, anyone that wants extra shirts, they're free. So thank you very much. Oh, also the 19 team members for the section medal. Come get your section medal. I think that should be everything. Yeah. So let's do the letter winners first. That should be like 19 guys. One big picture. You don't necessarily need the pen. It's the paper always likes to be letter winners, all conference, and any other award winners.